Littlefinger was born with no lands, no wealth, no armies. He has acquired the first two. How long before he has the army?
Hey, what's good, Game of Thrones fans? This is the Campfire Crew, and we are here to talk about everyone's favorite brothel owner, Petyr Baelish, a.k.a. Littlefinger. How he may be the ultimate game master, and answer the question, did he start it all? And by all, I mean the War of the Five Kings, and then cover a crazy theory that he may have had a small role to play in Robert's rebellion. Now, I know that theory is going to stir the pot and drive some people insane, but that's okay. We're going to cover it in depth, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, there are a lot of contributing factors to the War of the Five Kings ultimately. The incest between Jaime and Cersei. Ned Stark leaving Winterfell in the first place, right? But for me, I believe that it's a combination of three kind of major events that took place that acted as the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. The first one being Robert Baratheon's death. The second, the exposing of Joffrey's illegitimate claim to the throne. And then third, Ned Stark's death, or his execution. If Robert Baratheon doesn't die, the throne is still occupied, there is no war to take it over. If Joffrey's secret isn't exposed, then Stannis doesn't even realize he has a right to the throne. And then third, if Ned Stark isn't executed, then Robb Stark doesn't go to war. As far as Baylor and Renly, man, they're bandwagoners. They just trying to jump on the war hype train.
But let's go back to the catalyst that set this whole chain of events in motion. And that is the poison of Jon Arryn by Lysa at the request of Littlefinger. Jon Arryn found out the truth about Jaime and Cersei and was going to expose it, but Littlefinger wanted it on his terms. So he started the game by removing a piece that he couldn't control or manipulate as much and replaced it with one that he could. Now he did that by not only getting Lysa to kill Jon Arryn, but also allowing her to send a letter to Catelyn blaming the Lannisters.
She says Jon Arryn was murdered by the Lannisters. She says the king is in danger.
Now you got the two most powerful families going at it with King Robert right in the middle of it. Now Littlefinger couldn't control every outcome or predict the actions of everyone involved. He just knows how to navigate the chaos better than anyone. The powder keg and the kindling was already in place. Littlefinger just lit the match. It's like a forest fire. You can't control it. But Littlefinger had tools in place to navigate the chaos and to use it to his advantage.
Chaos is a ladder. Many who try to climb it fail. The climb is all there is.
Now here's Littlefinger climbing a ladder.
Now let's take a peek at some of the moves Littlefinger makes during this firestorm that he has started that helps him move up the social ladder. He brokers a deal between Tywin Lannister and the Tyrells to help defeat Stannis at the Blackwater. Then he works with Olenna Tyrell to poison Joffrey. You know, just a little gasoline on the fire. Then he marries Lysa. Then he kills Lysa. And he's basically Lord of the Vale now. He sets up the wedding between Sansa and Ramsay, forming an alliance there. He makes a deal with Cersei to take out Sansa and the Boltons. If doing so, he becomes Warden of the North.
They tell me Roose Bolton plans to marry her to his son, Ramsay. Perhaps I can help. The Knights of the Vale are some of the best fighters in Westeros.
And if you succeed?
Name me Warden of the North.
And I'll know you're a man of your word when I see Sansa Stark's head on a spike.
As I said, I live to serve.
He helps Jon and Sansa retake Winterfell. When you step back and look, you really get to see this game master at work.
The Robert Rebellion theory. Now, did Littlefinger first learn of the benefits of chaos from Robert's rebellion? Well, let's think about it. Robert Baratheon becomes king, appoints Jon Arryn as hand to the king, then Jon Arryn appoints Littlefinger Master of Coin and a member of the Small Council. If a Targaryen continues to stay on the throne, I believe Littlefinger stays a nobody, right? Doesn't really progress to the status that he's at now. But because it's connected to Lysa, who's married to Jon Arryn, who is a mentor to Robert Baratheon, Littlefinger is able to become Master of Coin and closer to the throne because of his connections, and all of that happened because of the chaos that ensued from Robert's rebellion. Now, the theory in question here is, before Robert's rebellion got started, is that Littlefinger intercepted a letter from Lyanna Stark to her brother saying that she is fine and she willingly went with the prince, not to come looking for her and all this kind of jazz. Littlefinger gets the letter, reads it, and then burns it. Well, for no other reason than because
some men just want to watch the world burn.
Brandon Stark never receives the letter, gets word that she's been kidnapped, hot-headedly heads off to King's Landing to confront the king and ultimately to confront Prince Rhaegar, even though he wasn't there, ultimately gets killed, and the war begins. Whether this is likely or not is another story entirely. I'm just here to convince you that it is possible that this theory could happen, and here's why. Let's take a look at this timeline. In 281, you have the tourney at Harrenhal. A year later, 282, it all goes down. Littlefinger challenges Brandon to a duel, almost killed, and then is allowed to stay at River Run for a fortnight, which is 14 days. So for 2 weeks, Littlefinger is recovering at River Run. This is the time frame that we are, for fun, speculating about. Look, we know that Brandon is at River Run, leaves River Run to meet back up with his father and the wedding party that's coming from up north. I mean, he tells Catelyn, I will return, right? The boy's going to get married, he's meeting a wedding party, he's coming back to River Run. That much we know. We know that Lyanna was taken either prior or during these events from the Riverlands and then headed south to Dorne. Look, it's not crazy to think that a passionate teenager would leave with the Prince of Westeros, especially if they were in love. Look, man, teenagers do wild and crazy things all the time without regards to their consequences, okay? So that's not unheard of. Either at the beginning or during her travels down to Dorne, she writes a letter to her brother Brandon and sends it to River Run. So during these 2 weeks that Littlefinger is recovering, we do know that he's not well enough for travel, right? That's a long, hard trip. He's not going to get in a helicopter. He's not going to get an ambulance. You have to be a certain type of health, I reckon, to be able to take these long journeys to get from one place to another. We do know, however, he eventually is well enough to sleep with and even get pregnant Lysa. Okay, so it's possible that he was eventually well enough to gingerly move around the castle. Now, because he is ward, which makes him like an adopted kid of the Tullys, he could have had access to ravens and letters coming and going from the castle. If not, for some reason, he was bedridden, he couldn't get to a letter, Lysa would be more than willing to steal a letter from Littlefinger. I mean, just look at great lengths she's ultimately willing to go. Kill her husband and lie to her sister, okay? Her stealing a letter from Littlefinger is not out of the realm of possibility. Why does he steal a letter, you might ask? I think, let's look at Littlefinger. He's a teenage boy who's butthurt about getting beat up by Brandon, and is marrying a girl that he loves. He just wants to do harm. He just wants to do damage. All right, anything he can. So maybe they stumble across his letter and then he burns it just to get at him. He has no idea the consequences of his actions. Let's address a few comments or concerns you might have about this theory.
Littlefinger was only 15 years old. He could not have any idea what would happen if he burnt that letter, nor does he even have the influence or clout to make a move like that.
How old or how much influence do you really have to be able to intercept a letter in the castle when you're sleeping with the Lord's daughter and your ward of the castle, okay? Regardless of age, he could at least make that happen on his own. Secondly, I don't think he could foresee, I don't think he was sitting back thinking, oh, Brandon's going to go challenge the king, he's going to go get killed. I don't think it was anything like that. I think it just, in the fit of rage, he caused an action that caused some other events. He had no idea how they would unfold and actually kind of got shocked. We do know that he sent, after Brandon was killed, he did send a letter to Catelyn Stark, well, to Catelyn, and she didn't read it. Like, she just ripped it up and tore it up. So we don't know what that letter contained. Don't know if he was confessing. Don't know if he was just trying to put a move on her. We do know that after the fact that Littlefinger said something in a letter that got to Catelyn that nobody knows what it said. Maybe it was a confession that he could have stopped it. I don't know.
Littlefinger was near death. He could not get out of the bed. For 2 weeks, he was laid up in the bed.
At first, sure, he was in the bed and damaged, but to say that he was completely bedridden the whole time and couldn't move around is just speculation. I mean, we don't know one way or another. There's not enough information to say that. If you say he was in the bed the entire time, you're just speculating, because I don't know. We do know he was well enough to travel, which means prior to him being able to travel, he could have been able to walk around the house, and regardless, Lysa could have done it for him.
Why didn't she send another letter? Lyanna just could have easily sent another letter and stopped this whole thing.
Maybe she never knew that he didn't receive the first letter. Secondly, maybe once Brandon was dead, there was nobody else that she really trusted to even send a letter to that would be able to make a difference. And then third, once she realized that she was pregnant, she obviously feared for the child's life. I mean, just look at the great lengths she had Ned Stark go through to keep that a secret. She obviously didn't want it getting out. That's why she would never send another letter.
Why would she send it to Riverrun? That doesn't even make sense. Why wouldn't she send it home to Winterfell?
She knew Brandon was going to be at Riverrun. He was either at Riverrun or was going to come back to Riverrun.
And why would she send it to Brandon? Like, she could have sent it to her parents, right? Why Brandon?
Simple. She knew her parents wouldn't approve of the decision that she made. And what do siblings do, man, when they're in trouble and they want to confide in somebody? They go to their siblings. They go to their older brother or sister that they trust, right? It's not, I mean, like, I think Brandon was probably more in the same realm as Lyanna. Like, he was the wild wolf. She probably appealed to him and thought that he would at least understand what she was going through, and she confided in him, not her parents, which is why she went to Riverrun and not Winterfell, went to Brandon and not her father. Anyway, guys, that's our theory. I would love to know what you think about it. Do you think that Littlefinger could have accidentally caused the first big war? Look, I think it's possible, and I hope we've at least speculated and given some theories strong enough to at least support the fact that it could have happened. Look, regardless if it happened or not, it does not change any of the outcomes of current events that's taking place. I just think it's kind of cool, you know, to sit back and think that maybe Littlefinger got his first taste of this chaos by accidentally doing something, and then later on in life had more control over the chaos that ensued afterwards. But anyway, guys, like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and until next time, guys, we out.